I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest, no other than Miss Ambika Devi.
It's nice to
Well,
be here.
welcome to Book 101, Miss Ambika, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure, Daniel. I love writing. I've been writing stories since I could hold a crayon, and I used to write graphic novels on my lunch bag, my paper lunch bags, and all through the margins of my notebooks going through school. I'm a bit of a schoolaholic. I love to study, so I have several degrees in a variety of topics: fine art, holistic health. I was a college professor teaching holistic health for 21 years in three different states in the US. And I was a visual artist, a performing artist, a musician. And a lot of this goes into my storytelling and my art into the book. So even in my novel, I did the cover myself. And inside the book, I'm very particular about the way the numbers on the pages look and different artwork and the way things are. So I feel that all my creativity finds its way into what I do. My main focus is to get people thinking about what really makes you happy and what really is happiness. So my second book is called Unfolding Happiness. With the holistic health in my background, I often have things in my books that help people think about this. I'm also a professional astrologer. So that brings in the spirit in body, mind, spirit. I've been a yogi and meditating since I was 6 years old. And I'm a public speaker. So I talk about taming the mind and bringing a lot of fun. If you go to my YouTube channel, which is slash my name, Ambika Devi, you can see a more recent talk that I gave in the Bahamas about taming the mind, and also the testimonials from participants who, one after another, said how much fun they had, which is really important to me.
Ms. Ambika Devi, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. Thank you so much. So, what does this mean to integrate the body, mind, and spirit?
Well, most people don't realize, Daniel, that body, mind, spirit is actually a translation of the three daughters of the Vedas. The Vedas are books of knowledge or even science, the science of life. And people get mixed up thinking that yoga and this particular body of knowledge constitutes and equivocates a religion. It does not. Being a yogi embraces any spiritual path, and there are different paths within yoga. It's easy to get confused because yogis do believe in a higher power and omnipresence, and that shows up in the writings, but that doesn't mean there's one particular way like a religion. Here in the United States, to get a degree, I have a master's degree in yoga. It is considered under the body of religion, which I feel is unfortunate. I think it's more of a science of life, but so be it. And so with the daughters of the Vedas, we have yoga, which we most everybody recognizes that word. We have Ayurveda. I think that's becoming more and more popular and more mainstream, but people don't realize Ayurveda is for more than just diet. As far as what we're putting in our mouths and spirit. So, yoga, Ayurveda, and Jyotisha. Jyotisha is astrology. So, these are the three daughters of the Vedas, these four books of knowledge. And they are how we got the idea of body, mind, spirit, or mind, body, spirit, whichever order you put them in. So, yoga's for the mind because its main focus is meditation, not just the exercise, which it has become an exercise program. Ayurveda is diet, but not just, as I said, what you put in your mouth, but also your environment, what you're taking in, what kind of media, what's your environment like, what kind of music are you listening to, what kinds of books are you reading. And then Jyotisha is the science of light. Jyota means light, and that is our observance and interrelationship with the stars and planets.
How do the body and mind and spirit influence one another?
You can't separate them. You can ignore it and not pay attention, but they all affect each other. I find when going back to the idea of happiness, you become more happy with more contemplative time. So, more time in meditation, most certainly more time in nature, and taking time away from whatever you might be pushing yourself to do. More creativity, less forceful behavior patterns, more joy and happiness, less focusing on whatever is churning around in the mind. Everybody has that experience of thoughts churning around in the mind, but there are practices that can help you remove and realize the mind is external, which is what I do when I'm teaching and speaking and writing about taming the mind, which is really with the focus of finding your way into a meditative state, not just sitting on a cushion, but getting up and being able to experience life in this way.
Definitely. Why is it balance between these three elements essential for overall well being?
I think the first thing is to not think of it in terms of balance. When we use the idea, the word balance, we think of a center point and there has to be a perfect level. But let it be on the swing, let it have a gray area like a pendulum or a scale that just doesn't come still because it's a harmony. So think of it more like music. There's all different types of sounds that we can hear in music. Some, like if we're thinking of a chord of more than one note being played at a time, a chord could have what we think is very pleasing harmony, but it could be disharmonic too. And this is bringing it in to a more pleasing, pleasurable, gentle ease. And they all feed off each other. The more we focus on our spiritual being and spiritual growth with whatever path is comfortable for you, the more we spend time in a peaceful environment with healthy choices, both of what we're putting in our mouths, because I believe that health begins in the kitchen. And if everything in your kitchen is not healthful and gives you the ability to heal or reharmonize, then we need to talk about what's in your kitchen. And yes, that does come from my years of holistic health. And the body needs to be relaxed. So, yoga, the postures are for that. The breathing exercises called pranayama are great for stilling the mind and clearing the churning thoughts. And the more we understand from a scientific point of view and also an experiential point of view, the more we can find ways that work for us because there is no one size fits all.
What practices can help align the body and mind and spirit?
The first I feel is going outside, looking at the sky, regardless of what time of day or night it is, because the sky is always changing. And when you were a little kid, you liked to lay on your back and you like to lie there and look up at the stars and look at the clouds and imagine things. So spending time outside in nature, closing your eyes, asking yourself, can I tune in to the different elements, to fire, if it's the sun, or the light of the stars at night, water, because water is what we're mostly made of, but maybe you live near a body of water, or you can go for a walk near a body of water, whether it's a creek or the ocean or even a lake. Uh, Earth, because that's beneath your feet. So, a really good way to get in touch with that is hug a tree or go for a walk or just stand in the dirt barefoot, and air, because that's the air you breathe. Getting in touch with these four main elements, and then imagining yourself in space, because space is what we're really mostly made of, right? We know this scientifically. We think of everything in terms of mass, but we know that everything has a great deal of space. And now there's more and more research being done and being proven, particularly by Nassim Haramein, who I'm a huge fan of, who is talking about the energy of black holes and the misconception of what a black hole is, and how we find those in particles and in atoms as fascinating. So if you haven't checked him out, I highly recommend it. Just expanding your knowledge, taking in more creativity, putting out more creativity, sing, dance, just lie down on the floor or the ground. All of these things will help integrate body, mind, spirit, and give you a better sense of peace and gratitude, which is so important for being here and having the opportunity to have a body and be in this lifetime, because it goes by really fast. And I know people may have told you this, but the more we can slow it down. And so when we do breathing exercises, we are able to stretch out the moments. And this gives us more opportunity to find peace.
Yes, and be curious in everything, as Einstein said. Who knows, you will the next Einstein. So, how does
I
mindfulness?
love Einstein. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
that. I've got him right here.
Oh, nice.
Einstein and Shakespeare. They're my two buddies
That's
on my desk.
awesome. So, how does mindfulness contribute to achieving state of harmony?
Mindfulness is an interesting term, Daniel, because mindful, that doesn't really sound very relaxing to me, but I get where people are coming from and how that word became developed in English. But really, I believe what mindfulness is being aware of what the mind is up to. First thing is we have to understand and own the fact that the mind is not inside your head, but it's external. And that instead of fighting with it and wrestling with it, if we can treat it like a buddy, like a good friend, somebody we can talk to, and understand that it feeds us information, but the mind is not who we are. We hear phrases like, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And the path of knowledge from the Vedas that I prefer to study is called Advaita Vedanta. And the information is quite simple. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am the witness of the body and the mind. And that's what meditation teaches us. It takes us in to a witness state so that we can observe. And there are many, many different people that talk about this and teach about it. And there are many different pathways to find your way there. But once you can separate yourself from the churning wheel of reaction, because whenever something happens, we have a reaction. That first reaction is for free. We're human beings. This is part of it. But then it's our choice to react. And it's in the reaction, especially with things that are challenging, that we create our own pain. So when we can separate out and we can witness it, and then if we see it happening again, we can tell it to be quiet. This is how we can begin to create patterns of harmony and peace.
So, Miss Ambika, what is your advice for those people out there want to inline their mental clarity and spiritual connection?
I feel the first thing is get in touch with nature. And then look at your habits, look at your diet, what you're putting in your mouth, and what's going on in your environment. When I worked in holistic health and somebody would come in a clinic, the first thing I would ask them is, what are you eating? What are you drinking? And then I'd ask them what kind of media, what kind of books are you reading? What are you watching on television if you're watching it, or movies? And it was quite apparent that the people that had better choices, more harmonic choices, more peaceful choices, were healthier people. But the people that weren't feeling well, that were suffering, were maybe running news programs on repeat, or watching things that were challenging, like horror movies. And look, I get it's a genre, but I feel that it takes a toll on you. I mean, I've seen it time and time again when people are really focused on this kind of negative energy. It tends to take a toll on the body. Another thing is letting yourself feel your feelings. If you try to suppress them, look, we get frustrated, we get angry, we're humans. But if we can find a quick release for it, where we're not going to hurt ourselves or anyone else, or destroy any property, those are the three rules. If we let it out, maybe a good primal scream, because the voice is very, very important for helping to release energy. And then we can find a settling point again. So let yourself feel your feelings, but don't get caught like on a hamster wheel where you can't get off. And when we learn how to do that, it's as if we're driving down a highway that we didn't see an exit from. But the more we practice this, we have created off ramps. And so we're actually creating new neural pathways. That's what it means to become neuroplastic, and what neuroplasticity is.
So, Miss Ambika, what is your short-term and long-term goals in writing?
I have another book that I have had sitting in manuscript form in my computer, that is from curriculum that I wrote to teach some very basic uh, techniques that I feel like we should have been taught as little children. Some were taught, like grounding and centering yourself, like understanding the energy and the anatomy of energy in your body, and then techniques that you can use in order to harmonize your mood and your physical feelings in your body. So I'd like to finish that. I'm always writing something. Uh, I often start short stories, or yeah, I complete them too. But I don't. If we're talking about a longer book, that manuscript is in the works, because it's taking it from curriculum I've already written and published into putting it in a book form.
Mm.
And then, and I'm always writing poetry, so who knows? I might do another book of poetry. I've got one. Well, two. My newest book is a combination of short story, flash fiction, and poetry. So, and there's always artwork going on. So, like I said in my books, in the newest book, which is called Cupid is a Bastard, it's about self love. And it's also tongue in cheek, because in astrology, and mythology, we don't know who Cupid's father is. So it's a double entendre of, being frustrated if with the loss of love, but also realizing that the most important love is to love yourself and life, and be
Yes.
grateful, you know? And uh, it's important to also understand, Daniel, that we can only feel and experience the height and level of love from others that matches the height and level of love we have for ourselves. So when people are frustrated about not finding love or losing a relationship, uh, when I'm counseling them, because I do coach people about relationships, uh, I try to get them refocused on self love, because I feel like that is the way, the pathway. You'll become more attractive, when you feel good and you're happy about yourself, you'll be more attractive to others.
Yes, definitely. And good luck for your goals, Miss Ambika. To sum up our episode, what is the long term impact of integrating body, mind, and spirit on overall quality of life?
happiness, ease, grace, and peace, and then put it out there, infuse everyone and everything you come in contact with to make this world a more peaceful and loving place. And gratitude is definitely the attitude to have.
Be thankful in everything we have. People, stop complaining and be grateful. So, Miss Ambika Davi, thank you again for empowering us. And thank you for all your books. We are looking forward for more empowering books to come. So can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Sure. I've got several. I've got a novel which is called Lilith. And if you want to learn about me and when I was in art school, that is in that book, even though it's in the fiction category. Unfolding Happiness is an introduction to Ayurveda, meditation, and cosmology from the Far Eastern perspective. The Wizard and the Wrench is a poetry book. It's a conversation between two poets, myself and my good friend Dominic Albanese. I've got a goddess book that's an ebook, and that's translated into Spanish also. And then Cupid is a Bastard, which is poetry, flash fiction, and a mini memoir and a short story, which is a fantasy story of a conversation between myself and the God of love.
Wow. People, let's support Miss Ambika Devi because if you support her, again, more empowering books to come. So, Miss Ambika, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Modicam people, see you soon. Miss Ambika, if you're interested next year, you are most welcome